Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to do a recap of all of the rule announcements over the last week and their impact on Astra Militarum. As you know, there's been a balanced data slate and also more announcements on how the 10th edition rule set will work. So let's kick it off with the balanced data slate and also quickly the errata aka FAQ. The inevitable Kazrakan nerf is here, changing the wording of the overcharged las cell stratagem to limiting the number of mortal wounds that can be generated to 6 per phase. Previously, you could split fire from a Kazrakan squad and inflict up to 6 mortal wounds per target, which meant any tournament competitive list was taking 3 squads of Kazrakans, as at just 100 points, they could reliably delete whole chunks of your opponent's list. This will take them from being bonkers good back down to being very good, and I say there's obviously still a place for them in any army list, although maybe not 3 squads, maybe just 1 or 2. The other Astra Militarum adjustment was to the relic banner finale FNM Drosh's first, removing Ignore or Hit Firefighter's ability. I don't think it's too much of a cut to this relic, as it's mostly powerful thanks to its ability to deny your opponent using anything to ignore wounds, such as feel no pains or phase wound caps. I do ever know there was a combination of a command squad surrounded by mortar squads that could move and shoot without penalty, but overall this isn't a massive loss. Next thing for Astra Militarum was the adjustment of the secondary objective in flexible command in the errata. This to me is a little comical, as they made the same omission when they wrote the Nephilim mission pack. It looks like the rule team at GW has probably got too much on their plate at the moment. Like last time, this adjustment provides clarity that only units on the physical tabletop need to be near an officer, so no potential arguments with your opponent that units in reserves break this requirement. So overall, from those 3 elements, the last balanced data slate of 9th edition hasn't changed too much for Astra Militarum in this last few months of this edition. Right now onto the 10th edition rule announcements this week, and what they could mean for Imperial Guard. Firstly, characters are now able to join friendly squads, with keyword leader units able to join a set list of units. The Space Marine example shows a lieutenant can join a list of relatively unsurprising units, all being infantry based. So for Astra Militarum, does this mean that the likes of Acadian Castellan, Colonel Iron and Strachan or Usala Creed can join one of our 4 troop unit choices such as Cadian Shock, with maybe Lord Solar able to join onto Rough Riders or Death Corps of Krieg Riders, given they've both got the cavalry keyword. These leaders grant the accompanying units and benefits, with the example Lieutenant Space Marine giving the unit lethal hits, which essentially is born soldiers as we know it. We kind of already have this concept for Astra Militarum with the command squad wrapping in the commander, with option of taking a bodyguard, astropath, master ordnance or master of the fleet into that single unit. None of those 4 units can be played individually, and also shared in the article is a concept of character protection from the Lookout Sir rule will be removed for 10th edition, instead relying upon these new unit rules to protect characters. I'd say for Astra Militarum this isn't necessarily a great thing, as a 65-point infantry squad, even if buffed by a character, won't be inflicting much damage. However, if a character can join a Kazrakan or Scion squad, that could be a neat combo. Also, hiding characters will be tougher in the sense their physical footprint will naturally increase. So for example, Usala Creed with 10 Cadian Shock accompanying her will find it harder to naturally squeeze into small places and possibly be easier to target. It remains to be seen how the mechanics of targeting such a unit will work. Will the squad's toughness be used when targeted, and at what point does the damage splash over from the unit onto the character, who may have a different toughness and different save? We'll of course have to see what that looks like. Okay, the next thing shared were some Space Marine vehicles with all getting massive boosts to their toughness, with a Space Marine Rhino now toughness 9, likewise a Storm Speeder, and a Repulsor hovercraft tank at toughness 12. As context, they currently are at toughness 7, toughness 6 and toughness 8, so clearly a massive jump, and it means wounding vehicles will be more commonly done on a 5+, which could be very challenging in certain matchups. Something also mentioned in a different article is that weapon profiles overall won't be getting any stronger and actually losing some degree of AP, which supports the notion that vehicles will be truly tougher in 10th edition. Clearly, the consequences for Astra Militarum are obvious, being an army that can easily field vehicle-dominant lists with relatively cheap but effective chassis. Also, something I guessed at last week is that vehicles with a higher OC or objective-controlled score than infantry units. Terminators, which was shown in previous weeks, have a score of just 1, whilst a Rhino has a 2, and the other Space Marine vehicles have higher scores, which all make sense given their larger physical size. In this game, in-game, this could mean for Astra Militarum that a Rogue or Dawn, which could have maybe an OC score of 5, mostly covers an objective, and gone are the days of a single OPSEC infantry model towing the objective and stealing it from you. I really look forward to this change, as the current objective secured rules really are quite complicated and a bit unnecessary. Now, countering this increased toughness on the vehicles is new weapon rules. Firstly, the concept of weapon types are gone, for example rapid, heavy and pistol, with now instead weapons having abilities. The various examples show that things will be slightly changed, with weapons now able to be given multiple abilities, with a Space Marine bolt rifle having both assault and heavy. Interestingly, assault now allows a unit to advance and shoot with no hit modifier, and a heavy weapon is rewarded for remaining stationary, getting a +1 to hit. This is great and feels really in tune with how it should be, and means, for example, heavy weapon team may actually be playable once again, but I do wonder what it means to vehicle mounted heavy weapons. Looking at some of the other examples, overall weapons will be more accurate or inflicting additional damage via the critical hit roll, which I'm pretty sure means 6s to hit. As also shown last week, some will also have anti-infantry, monster or vehicle abilities, which when stacked with improved accuracy means more hits on target and a greater chance of rolling a 6 to hit to take advantage of these new rules. I say though that relying on 6 to hit in a world where you're mostly going to be wounding vehicles on a 5+ will actually make it quite challenging to take down vehicles. We haven't of course seen the rest of the rule set, so don't know the advantages or disadvantages of taking lots of vehicle spam, nor the effective ways of damaging these vehicles. But at this point, I'd definitely say things are looking good for my 6-11 Russ, 4 Chimeras, 4 Scout Sentinels, a Rogue or Dawn and Baneblade. Bring it on 10th edition. Right, so hopefully a helpful roundup of all the latest 10th edition rules and the balanced data slate. And what do you think of everything that's been announced so far this week and in previous weeks? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this and want to support me, you can do so with a like, comment or by subscribing or joining my Patreon platoon. And massive thanks to my current supporters. Let's get your bayonet sharp, las gun oiled. Faith in the Emperor strong. Patreon platoon, sound off. Tank Commander Glenn. Tank Commander Watchdog Van Etten. Tank Commander Mitchell. Colour Sergeant DuPont. Sergeants Adal, the Colonel Merrill, Veteran Gibson, Hall, Lundeen, Guardsman Beard, Coquelin, Flint, Hills, Malik, Nitton, Nguyen, Smith, Tom, Tompkin, Conscript England, Gilliam, Goodwin.